Hello everyone, welcome to PHTV Channel 4 in Palos Heights. I'm Sue Jankowski and this is The Travel Show. In this show every month we bring you something really fun or interesting to do, think about what you want to do in the future. Some of these trips need to be planned ahead of time, or maybe you just want to find out about them so you can plan for this trip you want to be doing coming up real soon. And in fact, that's kind of what you're going to want to do with this. Today we have Jill Daly. Welcome, Jill, today to our show. Jill is director and Midwest of the Midwest region in our country for the Government of Israel Ministry of Tourism. So she is actually very knowledgeable about Israel and why you would want to go there and what would you want to do or see. And before we started filming today, I was talking to Jill a little bit about Israel and how some of us may have some misconceptions about what goes on in Israel, or maybe we have a little apprehension about touring there. But I was telling her that actually my son and daughter-in-law went there and couldn't have been more thrilled about visiting Israel. And she said, yeah, that's true. So Israel, I mean, we think of it as like a place where we want to go because that is like so much history and culture and so many really wonderful facets of life that we want to find out about, but yet I think a lot of us are a little bit apprehensive about it. So allay my fears about traveling there, because I know you've been there many times and I know you know it's really great.
I have been. Israel's one of my favorite places to go and visit. It just, being there feels, there's peace and there's history and there's so much culture that's available in one small country. So it's a place that I do really encourage people to go, and I think that it's on most people's bucket list. I mean, we've been experiencing record-breaking tourism. Last year in 2017, we had a 25% increase, which is huge, of people that are going because they're wanting to put it on their list, and they're making it happen now. So, and already for 2018, we're projected that we'll probably see about a 20% increase again over 2017, which was the best year ever. So,
well, and I think as time is going on, people are feeling more comfortable and confident about traveling everywhere in the world and enjoying it. So this is a great place to go.
It is. You know what, I feel like the world has become small. Before, you always looked at the world as this big place and you didn't understand all the different places and so many countries you weren't able to visit, so many places that you weren't able to travel to. But now I think with the internet, with social media, things have become a lot more accessible. So Israel, I think, is one of those countries that people are really fascinated with, and they want to be able to go and see it and experience that rich history and that culture for themselves.
Yeah, and I do agree. I think a lot of people have it on their list of things you really want to do in your lifetime, and so this is your opportunity to go. It's probably the best time ever to travel to Israel. So, okay, we're planning our trip to Israel, and I think people have some ideas in their head maybe about what they want to see and do, but maybe some people don't. So what's the things we should be doing? And like you said, it is a small country, so you can really cover a lot when you're there, which is kind of nice too.
It is.
See it all.
When you're traveling, a lot of places that you go, so if you're going to France, you're going to tend to pick one little area, one city, that kind of thing. When you go to Israel, Israel's about the size of the state of New Jersey. So I always say, for those of us here in the Midwest, you could put 3 Israels into Lake Michigan and still have room to swim around. So,
oh, wow, okay.
So what that means is it really is the luxury of size that you're able to see so many different things. Mm-hmm. And Israel offers so many different things. Most people do go for religious purposes. Whether they're of the Christian faith, the Jewish faith, the Muslim faith, they're wanting to go and walk in the footsteps of their faith. But it also has amazing wineries. Some of the best wines in the world are grown in Israel and made in Israel. The food and the culture that's coming out, you're seeing more and more, because you have this blending and this melding of people from all over the world that are coming, and they're bringing their cultures and they're bringing their heritage and creating these amazing things in Israel. So in terms of a high-tech nation, it's very high-tech. It's just like you would experience here in the U.S., or what you would expect as a traveler to have those 4 or 5-star hotels and have full amenities and have the ability to use your cell phone and all of those kind of things. You can do that in Israel as well.
Okay, and I think that's a little bit of a misconception too, that you're going to a place that would not have that type of modern technology or accommodations or that type of thing. You would be, which, you know, that's fine too. You're just thinking you're stepping back in time a little bit, but truly it is as modern as anywhere else.
It really is. A lot of the technology we use here in the U.S., it came from technology that was first developed in Israel. So a lot of the things, even just the everyday things that I use Waze to get to and from work every day or to get anywhere, it was developed in Israel. So it came from Israel first. So it really is, I think a lot of people have this misconception that they're going to go to Israel and it's going to be all brown, it's going to be all desert, and everybody's going to be riding camels. Which is not the case at all.
Okay,
actually, if you want to ride a camel, you go to the gas station. It's the novelty tourist thing to do, is you ride the camel at the gas station. But you know, it is very modern with everything that you would be looking for as a traveler. Those kind of things that you've become accustomed to, and it's the luxury and the comforts that you like when you travel. A lot of people, you're going to find that in Israel. You're going to find lush and green and beautiful, and you will find the brown and desert, but it's in certain areas. It's not the entire country.
It's not everywhere. Okay, so now you mentioned that many walks of faith want to go to Israel because they want to find out more about their faith and kind of walk those special areas. Can you talk about that a little bit for us?
Well, I would say actually the majority of the people coming to Israel, they are actually coming for their Christian faith. They're wanting to walk in the footsteps of where Jesus was. They're wanting to be able to see those places, to be able to go to the Sea of Galilee and to be able to sail on the Sea of Galilee. You have the opportunity that they have the boats of what it would have been like in biblical times, in the times of Jesus, and you can actually go out on the boat and sail on the Sea of Galilee. So those that believe with their Christian faith that they're wanting to go and walk in those footsteps, they know that Jesus was there. They know that this was the place that he was there, that he ministered, that his disciples were, so you have that opportunity to do it. Those that are going for the Jewish faith, to be able to go and see the biblical prophets and the place of the prophets is just an amazing experience, and that connection. So that is, I would say, the majority of people, that's what they're wanting to do, is they want to have that reconnection with their own faith and that reconnection with themselves as well, because that's so much a part of who they are. So Israel really does connect to that in a way that no other place can do that. So
if people are trying to find a tour, there's probably tours, you know, I think we've kind of stated before on the show that oftentimes you feel a little bit more comfortable in a foreign country taking a particular tour and having that particular whatever you wanted to have happen. Like if you're Christian and you want to do the walk where Jesus walked, there's probably something that you can connect to with a travel group, which I'll just mention Class Act Travel, of course, is sponsoring our show, and in that they bring our guest today. Jill's here because of Kathy Janes asking her to come here today, and so Kathy would be the one to say, oh, okay, you want to do these things when you're in Israel, and people do that. Now, I'm sure people just come on their own, and you can probably connect there with some kind of group that tells you where to go and what to see.
You definitely can. I mean, there's opportunities while you're there to be able to, if you want to hire a guide. Israel, though, is one of those countries that I do really recommend hiring a guide. Even if it's not for your entire trip, if it's just part of your trip, you will miss so much if you don't have a guide with you. So if you're working with someone like Kathy can set up in a beautiful itinerary, whether it's be something that's already put together and you're just kind of using something that other people have used before, or you can customize it as well. So maybe you're a traveler that wants to go and you want to experience those Christian sites, but you also want to experience the food as well, or you want to experience the history of some of those other places as well. You have that opportunity to do that with a trip, and you can really put that together. One of the things I think most people don't realize is Israel, in terms of the country, is you can actually, in the north, you can downhill ski. It snows. It's the end of the Alpine Trail, so Mount Hermon, you can actually downhill ski. drive 4 hours and float in the Dead Sea in the same day. You're down in the desert and you're floating in the Dead Sea.
Wow.
So you can have that entire experience of everything all in one trip. So when you're putting together an itinerary, or where you're putting together a trip for yourself, you really can mix and match, and you can put all of those different things into it to be able to have the trip that you want and the trip that you're looking for.
Would you say that most people, when they travel to Israel, I mean, you could spend any length of time if you really want to immerse yourself somewhere, you want to stay maybe for a few weeks, but would a reasonable amount of time be, say, a week or 10 days? What
10
do
days.
most people do?
So 10 days would be a reasonable amount of time. So 10 days will give you 8 days on the ground. Because you're going to lose time flying over there in terms of the length of the flight, the time zone changes and everything but that's 8 days on the ground. And you can really leave knowing you've seen a lot and you've seen almost everything while you were there. So obviously anybody, you can stay for an entire month, you can stay for 3 weeks, but 10 days would be a very good trip that you really would feel that you've done it and you've seen it.
Okay. Now I'm wondering if people do, they do their touring of like more of the ancient artifacts. And then you were mentioning that there are vineyards and wine production. Is there like another kind of tour where people can do like food and wine and countryside?
Absolutely. You can definitely put that together. And the thing in terms of Israel and the grapes and the wines, everything is grown there. We actually do not import anything. All of our fruits, vegetables, everything that you eat, it is all made and grown there. It's not imported in. So if somebody wanted to do a wine tour, you can start in the Golan Heights in the far north, and you can go all the way down into the desert. And actually there's wineries that they've developed in the desert as well, so that they're growing the grapes as well there. So you can put together a very nice trip that really includes all of those things. So.
I was going to ask Jill, now you're representing the government of Israel, the Ministry of Tourism. Just out of curiosity, how did you get involved in that aspect of travel? Were you always interested in traveling around?
Actually, I've always loved travel, and I've always been interested in traveling around, but I started working with the Ministry of Tourism because I am educated in advertising and public relations, and I worked for an advertising agency, and they were my client. So I represented them to North and South America for about 5 years, and really promoting Israel to the Christian community specifically. So when I had the opportunity to come to Chicago, to move to Chicago and work with Israel, I immediately took it. It was exactly what I was looking for. I wanted to move to Chicago, but didn't know how I was going to continue that. So I've always been passionate about travel. I've always wanted to experience and see new cultures, but having the opportunity to work with Israel has been it's been an honor and a privilege for me to be able to do that. So.
Oh, that's amazing. So now that you're working with the government there, I'm imagining you take a few trips just to touch base with everyone and tourism. So is there do they say these are really the top 5 things you want to do in Israel when you're there? Is there like a list like that, or what would you recommend as the top 5 or
everybody
10?
has a top 5 of what they want to do, and it depends too on what you're looking for in the trip. So I mean, if it's a Christian traveler, they're going to have a different top 5. But I mean, one of my top 5s, I have a great love of Tel Aviv. I love Tel Aviv. It's a city that it's vibrant, it's new, it's right on the Mediterranean, on the beach. They have beautiful markets for food and spices and things like that. That it's so much fun to me, and it's a place that I absolutely love. I also love the old city of Jerusalem, which is the complete opposite. That it is definitely more, it's an ancient city, it's an old city, you have the ancient city walls, and to be able to go and see that history that you wouldn't experience, I don't think, anywhere else. And specifically, if there was a specific site, I love the Western Wall. Being able to go to the Western Wall and just taking the time to you see people from all walks of life, you see people from all religions, that they're kind of coming together there and they're praying and they're taking that peaceful time. Friday night is Shabbat for the Jewish faith, and the Western Wall on a Friday night is dancing and singing, and it's so much fun because they're celebrating.
Wow.
And so it's just one of those places for me that I have to go every time I go. I will never miss the opportunity to go and visit the Western Wall and to be able to stand there and to be able to, you can put your prayers and intentions in the wall when you're there. So it's just a very special place for me to be.
And that's so meaningful and moving when you're actually there. It's one thing to look at pictures, but when you're actually somewhere where a lot of history has taken place, and like you said, an area of peace and then celebration. On Friday nights, it sounds like you need to get there on a Friday night.
It is. It's an experience to be able to go in spirit and experience Shabbat on a Friday night, because you have people coming from all over the world and they're celebrating in this one place. One of my favorite things too about Israel is the fact that you do have people coming from all over the world. They're all coming to experience it, and they're coming to experience in a different way. I have a picture hanging in my office. It's my favorite picture, and it's a picture of, I had a group that I had taken, it was a group of journalists that I took to Israel, and we had met up with a group of, they were from Nigeria, moving to Ireland because of political persecution in their own country and living now in Ireland, but being in Israel and being able to celebrate their faith. And we sang songs together, we took pictures together and stuff, and it just reminds me that you have people from everywhere, that you have this opportunity for these authentic connections with people and these really deep connections, and that's part of what travel is. Travel opens it up to, it opens the world to you, and it opens so many different experiences to you, and it brings, each person brings something different to it. So to have that opportunity to have that connection is just something that is so special, and I think is just an amazing part of it.
So you go all the way from Tel Aviv, really modern, on the beach, all of that, to Jerusalem, which is historic and really meaningful to so many people. So you've got it all there in a small little package, which is kind of nice.
And then even just the opportunity to, and between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, it's about a 50-minute drive, so it's not very far at all. Or if you want to go down to the Dead Sea and float in the Dead Sea. I've had people tell me all the time, they're like, oh, I'm not going to float. I won't float. Everybody floats. I promise you, you will be able to float. You will float. And it's just the opportunity to go and have that experience, to be able to, everybody needs that experience to be able to sit in the Dead Sea with their newspaper, reading their newspaper and floating. And just the benefits in terms of spa and things like that, to be able to cover yourself in mud. It's an experience. It's part of it.
It is. And it's something that you've heard about and you've thought about, and now you can do it. And I think that's what makes it really exciting too. Jill, is there anything else we should know while we're planning our thoughts and our ideas about traveling to Israel? Is there anything else we should be prepared for?
I think, and something I will mention in terms of, you're going to run into your family and you're going to run into people that are saying, don't go, it's not safe. It really truly is a place that you can go and you can feel safe. I had friends visiting from Pittsburgh, where I used to live, and they called before and asked, is it safe to visit Chicago? And you kind of laugh about that, but yes, there's areas that I wouldn't take them. And same thing with Israel. There's areas that you won't go, and those aren't the tourist sites anyway. Those aren't the places that people want to go. So in terms of planning your trip, understand people are going to ask that question, but I also think that you can feel completely safe in doing that. So, and then planning and putting together the trip, it does generally take about a year to be able to put something like that together. Okay. I mean, you could do it quickly, and a lot of people, and some people do it quickly, but if you're really putting together the trip and you're putting together the money for it, you're putting together the airfare or the hotels, all of that kind of thing, it's going to take about a year in terms of the planning, from the time that you start to the time that you actually touch down in Israel. So.
Well, when you plan a trip like that too, you don't want to miss out on anything. You make that, it's a big trip. You want to be sure and do all of those things that you want to do. And sometimes in tour groups or, with talking to your travel agent, you want to make sure to sign up for certain things. And like we've always said, anticipation is half the fun of planning that trip, getting ready for it and planning what you're going to do. So that's great advice.
Yeah. It definitely, it is part of the anticipation. I actually just ran into somebody that works in my office building that was so excited to tell me she was going to Israel. And she's like, I'm leaving in a month, but I've already wanted to start packing, which I think is typical. I mean, you're excited about it. It's the anticipation of it. And I think that's part of the fun of being able to have that opportunity to travel and see different places. It's anticipating it, and it's planning for it that really gets the excitement for it.
It is, and you can do that. Actually, if you wanted to go, 6 months or a year from now, start talking to Kathy now. We've had different travel organizations that have been on our program prior to this, and they, Jill and I talked about it. They do plan trips to Israel, so you can talk to Kathy about those agencies that can arrange your trip for you, and then she can kind of walk you through what you want to do. And then she can always get a hold of Jill, and Jill can tell her what's the latest and greatest that you might want to stay at or go to or whatever. So it's important to start that planning ahead of time.
And one of the things that you just said, the latest and greatest, is the thing in Israel is things change all the time. They're constantly making new discoveries. They're constantly having archaeological digs. One of the jokes that is, it's a joke, but it's actually kind of serious in the fact that anytime you buy land in Israel, they have to make sure that there's nothing underneath. So when you buy land, you pray that they find something completely amazing in this amazing discovery, or they find nothing at all. And one of those new sites is Magdala. Magdala is new to the Galilee area. It's a brand new site. It is from the biblical time of Jesus. It is they've found a first century synagogue, which is one of 6 in the world.
Oh my
that you're
goodness.
able to go and see. So,
wow.
And they're continuing to do these excavations. And if you have someone that's really interested in traveling and they want to be able to be part of an archaeological dig, you can do that. You can add that to the itinerary.
Oh,
And
cool.
that can be part of it, of being able to dig at Magdala or one of the other many, many, many sites that are happening and digs that are happening throughout Israel. And having that opportunity to really touch history is amazing to me. I remember one time being there, and my guide picked up a shard of pottery and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, that's recent history. That's only about 500 or 600 years old." And we are like, here in the U.S., we're like, "Oh my gosh!" Because I mean, I personally, I like antiques. I like old things. I mean, the things that I have are modern compared to what you find there. I mean, you're looking at things that are thousands of years old. So it really, it's a different perspective. It's a different experience.
Only 500 years old.
Yeah, that's recent history. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
So, yes.
Perspective.
So
Yeah.
it is perspective.
Okay, well, things do change, so you're going to want to figure it out and plan your trip and go out there and visit Israel. That sounds really great. And that would be Class Act Travel, Kathy Janes, who actually could not be with us today. But fortunately, we had Jill here to tell us all about traveling to Israel. So again, thanks, Jill, for coming by and telling us about this. And if it's on your list of things that you want to do, get out there and get it done right now while you're feeling, feeling good and want to travel. There's a lot out there. Well, thanks for watching us today, and look for us next month when we take you somewhere else great. Bye-bye.